Here is a story that actually occurred to me. And like I say, I'm sure that I told the story before, but I'm going to tell it again. And the story is as follows. One day, this must have happened, I don't know, 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago. And every Friday, I go to this marketplace in Tel Aviv, and I set up a table and I put tefillin on people. I put tefillin on people and I pass out these little boxes of, where are they? I haven't got one here, of candles, 2 candles to the women. To women, I say, Shabbos, candles. And anyway, so in the winter, like now, the days are pretty short. And Shabbat comes in like, 4:15 or something like that. So it's very short. You really have to run. And so it ended up, not to go into the details, when I was coming back, so I noticed that they changed the markings on the street. The markings on the street, that I went in to get gas, and usually the gas station, I wanted to get gas, and I came out, and I usually, when I would get gas in this station, I would come out and go straight to Kfar Chabad. It was 5 minutes to Kfar Chabad. But they changed the markings on the street that you couldn't go from that gas station straight out into the street and go straight. You had to go out from the gas station and then go around like the side of it and then take a left turn and then make another left turn. And then you got to the same traffic light. So it ended up you had to make a big loop around and go. Okay, it was late and it was getting close to Shabbat. And every week I always went straight. What do I have to go around for? Anyway, so I decided, and not only that, I figured I'm being protected. I'm coming from doing big mitzvahs, and I'm going to Shabbat, keep Shabbat, which that's also a big mitzvah. And it's no big, deal, to go across this line. They just made a line there. There's a line. It's just an artificial thing. It's not a real, like a big hole there or something. So anyway, so I disregarded the lines and I just went straight. So I'm going, happily going. But all of a sudden, behind these bushes on the street, jumps a policeman in front of me, and he points to me to go over. They were just waiting for people to do this. So I pulled over to the side. There was this place where it wasn't in the road, and he said, "License and registration. You just went across the line. You weren't supposed to do that." So I said, "Okay, I'm guilty, all right." And so he said, "Get a license and registration." So he looks at me and he says, "Do I know you from somewhere?" So I said, "Maybe from jail," because there's sometimes I went to jails, like on Purim and things like that for this. So, you've been in jail? I said, "Yeah, I go for Chabad." I thought it would make it lighten the situation up. He said, "Oh, you're from Kfar Chabad?" I said, "Yeah." I figured that's it. He's going to say, "Oh, no, Kfar Chabad," and just let it go. I said, "Okay." He takes out this big paper and he starts writing down a ticket. So I figured, okay, and the cars are whizzing by. So he says, "You're Chabad." He said, "I had a big miracle with the Rebbe of Chabad, the policeman." So I figured, okay, I'm getting a ticket anyway, so at least I'll get a nice story out of it. And also, while he's telling me the story, he's not going to stop other people. So I figured, okay, let's hear the story. So he says, "My name is David Malul, and I'm a policeman, a traffic policeman in Rishon." He said, he tells me the story. 5 years ago, he got into a terrible accident that somebody smashed into him, an Arab smashed into him in he was riding his motorcycle. He was a motorcycle policeman, smashed into his motorcycle, and it lifted him over this sort of barrier, and he fell down like, 15 feet or something. And luckily, there happened to be another police car nearby that stopped the Arab and called an ambulance, immediately took him to the hospital, took me to the hospital. This guy is telling us, this David Mul, took me to the hospital and made operations. And, I was in the hospital, another operation. And finally, when they finished, they said, "It's a big miracle. You don't know what a big miracle it is that we saved your life." And I got out and I realized that I was half paralyzed. The whole right side of my body was totally not functional. My hand just dangled there, and my mouth even started falling down to the side. And it was just, everything was just, paralyzed. My face was falling. So, and they were telling me how lucky I was and how fortunate I was. And My friends came and they visited me and at home. And of course, I couldn't be a policeman anymore. So I was getting a pension. But I was sitting at home and I was going crazy because I was a policeman and I was an active person. And now I can't do anything. And they were trying to tell me, maybe find another job, find another skill, find another this. And I started really getting depressed. And then one day my doctor calls me up and he says, listen, I just read in a medical journal that in Germany, they're working on a new method to rejuvenate dead nerves from the spine. And they've done a few, tests on whatever it is on animals, and it's almost, it's 50% successful or whatever. And they have big hopes. And my doctor said, I think you should go for it. I think you should try it. They'll make an operation, and it could, because I see your situation is deteriorating, and soon you're going to be paralyzed totally. So I think you should try it. Maybe it'll work. So I said, okay. So I then in those days they had faxes. There was a fax. So I sent a fax to them and they sent me information back. And I said, okay. And I reserved a hotel near this hospital. And they set the operation up like another week, a week and a half. So anyway, so the time is coming near and I'm getting more and more doubtful about this whole business. And I'm thinking, listen, these guys, I'm going to be like a guinea pig for them. But on the other hand, it's my only chance. And my doctor recommended it and etc. So I'm sitting there full of worry. And it's like the Shabbat before the operation. And I was totally not religious. I hated religious people, hated them. Even though the guy's a Moroccan Jew, but there are people like that. I hated the religious people, hated them totally. Nothing to do with them. We didn't keep Shabbat. We didn't keep kosher. We didn't keep anything. He said, all of a sudden, one Friday, and comes in my friend with this young religious kid. So I said to my friend, what's this? Who's this? He said, oh, you're somebody from Chabad. And I told him about your story. And I said immediately, he says, do me a favor, get him out of here. Get him out of here. What's he's from the burial society or something? I'm not dead yet. I don't want to see these religious people. They make me sick. They just want money. That's all they want. They care about money and they make all these promises. Get him out of here. He says he doesn't want any money. No, what does he want? He said, I told him about your story. And he said that maybe you can send a fax to the Lubavitcher Rebbe for a blessing. So he said he's willing to do it. So I said, listen, I've got a fax also. I don't need this kid around here. It makes me sick. I don't want to see these religious people. What does he want? He says, listen, it's a chance. What do you care? It's not going to cost you anything. I said, no, what should I do? And he said, write a letter and tell the Rebbe what your problem is and ask for a blessing and then send it in. That's all. He says, well, what's the fax number of the Rebbe? So he gave me the fax. So I said, okay, I'll do it myself. I told my wife, write down like this, write that I'm sick and that I want to be healed and that I want health and I want to work. I want to go back to work. That's what I want. Is that enough? They said, yeah, that's enough. So, okay, I got a fax. I got the number. Take off. I send the fax in and that was Friday, Erev Shabbat. So Motzi Shabbat, like about 5 a.m. or something like that. All of a sudden the fax starts rattling. And I get an answer back. And my wife says that it's an answer from the Lubavitcher Rebbe's headquarters. He must have answered as soon as Shabbat went out. What does it say? It says that you shouldn't make the operation. Won't be necessary. And that you'll get your old work back. So his wife said, that's pretty amazing. I mean, you didn't say anything about it, an operation, what it was. So I said to my wife, let me see that the paper. I showed it to him. Of course, my right arm didn't work. I took the paper and I crumpled it up and I threw it and I started cursing. I said things about the Rebbe that if I heard somebody say that now, I would hit them. And my wife said, what's your problem? What are you yelling about? I said, I didn't write anything about operation. I didn't write anything about making an operation. How did he know about the operation? So he said, my wife said, maybe it's prophecy. Hey, what are you talking about prophecy? That young boy, he called in. He called in and told him that I'm going to make an operation. And now he's trying to make it like he's a big prophet, like he's Elijah the prophet, and he knows. What are you talking about? He knows. And why did he say that? Because if I do get better on my own, then he's going to want money. And if I don't get better, so what? It's nothing. So my wife said, "Will you calm down? What's wrong?" Anyway, meanwhile, the date of the operation is getting closer. It's supposed to be like on Wednesday, and he has to take a flight there on Tuesday, whatever. And so the next morning, at 5 a.m, whatever, the phone rings. So he said, I was all groggy and everything. And I picked up the phone. I said, hello. I said, is this Malul? I said, yeah, it's Malul. And he said, listen, we're calling from the police station in, what is it, Beersheba. And we want to open up a new unit of motorcycle police. And we understand that you have experience. We'd like you to join. So I said, I said, what are you doing? What are you making such jokes in the morning? I'm a sick person. What do you this? And I started to curse the guy out. You're waking me up 5 o'clock in the morning with your stupid jokes and your practical jokes. And I yelled at him and I screamed at him. I slammed the phone down. This Nalul guy is telling me the story, right? I slammed the phone down. Suddenly I looked and I thought, I lifted that phone up with my right hand. How did I do that? So I thought, maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe my left hand was paralyzed. So I see both hands are working. And I started saying, what's going on over here? What's happening? All of a sudden, the phone rings again. And this time I looked at my hand and I lifted it up and I said, hello. They said, is this Malul? I said, yeah. And the person said, what are you cursing me out for? I'm calling you up in the morning. I want you to if you don't want the job, then say no. What do you have to yell at me, cursing my mother? I said, listen, I'm sorry. I had a big dream. I dreamt I was being eaten by a fish or something. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Give me the details. Meanwhile, my wife wakes up and says, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I don't understand what's happening. Everything is suddenly it's working. So I took down the details. I took down the guy's phone number and I said, I'll call him back. And I stood up and I started to walk. And my wife called back. He got all the details. And I went down to the place and they gave me they gave me this and they took x-rays of me. I did a physical. I did a physical examination and this. And I drove the car. I drove the car there and I drove the car back. And they called me up on the phone and they said, you got the job. So I went down there and I took my old x-rays. And they were just like from a week before, 2 weeks. And I brought them, I showed them to the doctor. And he said, whoa, this person is really in bad shape. I said, that's me. I said, what are you talking about? I said, look, here's my identification number. Here's my name. I said, but that person had big, his nerves were severed. He had many operations. You don't even have any scars. I said, yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. He said, it was a clear, obvious miracle that the Lubavitcher Rebbe did for me. The guy told me, this Malul. So I said, wow, that was worth, that story was really worth, that story was really, and he said in the end that if the Rebbe could bring my body back, I'm sure that the Rebbe is here in a physical body. That's what he said. This was after 10 years after Gimel Talmud. I'm sure the Rebbe is here. So I said to him, wow, that was really worth the ticket you just gave me. You gave me the ticket. He said, it's not a ticket, it's a warning. I looked at it and it said, yeah, it's a warning. I have it somewhere in my house. Yeah, you're right. It's a warning. And I looked up, I was looking at it and I said, wow, this is a bigger miracle than your miracle that happened to you. I said in a joke, and I looked up and he wasn't there. Where was he? In the middle of the street, pulling more people over. But it's a true story. And afterwards, I told the story to a very dear friend of mine here in Kfar Chabad. And he said that same policeman pulled him over, but he gave him a ticket. He did get a ticket. So I guess it was a bigger miracle than I thought. Have a good day with Mashiach now.